Captain Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of the research station, watching the twin moons of Valoria cast their silver glow across the crystalline spires below. The diplomatic quarters hummed with alien technology far beyond human understanding, yet here he was representing Earth in the most crucial negotiations in galactic history. Princess Lyrelai of the Valoran Empire approached from behind, her footsteps silent despite the ornate heels that seemed to be made of compressed starlight. Her ethereal beauty had stunned every human diplomat who had encountered her species, with features that resembled the elves of ancient Earth mythology, but possessed an otherworldly grace that no fairy tale could capture. "The view is magnificent. From here," she said, her voice carrying the musical quality that all Velorans possessed. "Yet you always position yourself at the furthest point from where I stand." Jake didn't turn around immediately. Over the past 3 weeks of negotiations, he had noticed her attempts to engage him in conversation beyond their official duties. Unlike his fellow diplomats who seemed enchanted by her presence, Jake maintained his professional distance. "I'm here to represent humanity's interests, Your Highness," Jake replied, finally facing her. "Personal relationships can complicate diplomatic proceedings." Princess Lyrelai's luminescent blue skin seemed to dim slightly at his formal tone. Her large violet eyes held an expression that Jake had learned to recognize as disappointment, though Veloran facial expressions had taken the human delegation weeks to decipher. "Is that truly the reason?" she asked, moving to stand beside him at the viewing panel. "Or is it something else entirely?" The princess's question hung in the recycled air between them. Jake had served in 3 interstellar conflicts before, becoming a diplomat, and he had learned that the galaxy held wonders and terrors in equal measure. The Valorans were neither ally nor enemy to humanity, but their empire controlled resources that Earth desperately needed for expansion into the Eisumboy Outer Rim territories. "Your people are advanced beyond our current understanding," Jake said carefully. "Your technology, your culture, even your biology represents achievements that humanity is still centuries away from reaching. Maintaining appropriate boundaries seems prudent." Princess Lyrelai turned away from the view, studying Jake's weathered face with curiosity. "You speak of advancement as if it creates distance rather than opportunity for connection. In our observations of human behavior, your species thrives on challenge and adaptation." She gestured toward the holographic displays that showed various human colonies throughout the galaxy. "Your people have established settlements in the harshest environments, fought against impossible odds, and created solutions that even our scientists admire. Yet you treat our potential friendship as something to be feared." Jake considered her words while watching a transport ship dock at the station below. The human crew moved with efficient purpose, unloading supplies that would support the next phase of territorial expansion. Everything about the scene reminded him why he was here and what was at stake for his species. "Princess, your empire spans 14 star systems," Jake said. "Your people live for over 3 centuries, possess telepathic abilities, and command technologies that can reshape matter at the molecular level. Humans live brief lives, struggle with basic interplanetary travel, and often fight among ourselves over resources. And yet," Princess Lyrelai countered, "your people have shown remarkable resilience in establishing themselves throughout this sector of the galaxy. Our intelligence reports indicate that human colonies have not only survived but prospered in regions where other species failed to gain foothold." She moved closer to Jake, close enough that he could detect the subtle energy field that surrounded all Valorans. "Your diplomatic team has negotiated agreements that benefit both our peoples, despite beginning from a position of apparent disadvantage. This suggests that humans possess qualities that pure technological advancement cannot replicate." Jake felt the sincerity in her words, but years of military and diplomatic experience had taught him to question motives. The Valoran Empire had remained neutral during humanity's recent conflicts with the aggressive Corvani hegemony, but neutrality could shift based on strategic interests. "What do you want from me, Princess?" Jake asked directly. "Our governments have established the framework for resource sharing and territorial agreements. The formal ceremonies conclude tomorrow." Princess Lyrelai looked away toward the distant stars visible through the observation panel. When she spoke again, her voice carried a vulnerability that seemed at odds with her royal bearing. I want to understand why you maintain such careful distance from me personally, even as our peoples move toward alliance. She paused, seeming to gather her thoughts before continuing. During these negotiations, I have observed how humans interact with each other and with other species. You show warmth, humor, and genuine connection. Yet with me, you display only professional courtesy. Jake realized that his assumptions about Valoran motivations might have blinded him to simpler explanations. You're asking about personal feelings rather than political strategy. I am, she admitted. Your species fascinates our scholars, but you specifically intrigue me in ways that have nothing to do with diplomatic relations. The admission created an unexpected moment of vulnerability between them. Jake had spent weeks focused on humanity's need for the mining rights and territorial concessions that Valoran cooperation could provide. He had not considered that the princess might have personal reasons for seeking closer contact with humans. Princess, Jake began, then stopped himself. Lyrily, if I may use your name. Her expression brightened at the informal address. Please do. I maintain distance because I don't want to presume that someone of your station and abilities would have genuine interest in someone like me, Jake said honestly. Humans have learned to be cautious about relationships with more powerful entities. Lyrili smiled, and Jake noticed that her luminescent skin seemed to pulse gently when she experienced positive emotions. More powerful perhaps in some ways, but you underestimate what humans offer that we cannot replicate. Such as? Unpredictability, she said immediately. Valoran society has achieved harmony through careful planning and consensus. We have eliminated conflict but also spontaneity. Human behavior remains delightfully chaotic, creative in ways that our ordered minds struggle to comprehend. She gestured toward him specifically. You have experienced combat, loss, and survival challenges that would devastate most Valorans. Yet you approach each new situation with adaptability that our people admire but cannot emulate. Jake considered her words while watching the station's activity below. Perhaps his caution had been misplaced, based on assumptions about power dynamics that didn't apply to this situation. So, when you ask why I won't get close to you, Jake said slowly, the answer is that I was protecting both of us from complications I assumed would be inevitable. And now? Lyrili asked. Jake turned to face her fully for the first time during their conversation. Now I think I've been overthinking the situation. Princess Lyrili smiled again, the gentle pulse of her luminescent skin reflecting her pleasure at his admission. Perhaps tomorrow, after the formal ceremonies conclude, you would join me for a tour of Valoria's cultural centers. Not as diplomats, but as individuals interested in learning about each other. I would like that very much, Jake replied, finally, allowing himself to acknowledge the connection he had been avoiding. As they stood together watching the stars, both realized that the most important alliance might be the personal one developing between them.